In Matthew 17, we find out about a man who had a demon-possessed son. He brings him to the disciples. The disciples tried to cast out the demon, but they couldn't. And so the man brings the boy to Jesus, and he says this. He says, "Oh, faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him here to me." And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the boy was healed instantly. Then the disciples came to him privately and said, "Okay, so what's the deal? Why couldn't we do what you just did?" And Jesus says, "Because of your little faith." Then he says, "For truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." Now, some people have taken that passage and developed this idea, this theology that the actual work and the power depends on how much faith that you have. So if somebody around you gets sick and you pray for healing and the person doesn't get better, well, it's because your faith was not enough. But I don't think that that's what this passage means. It could be misconstrued that way because he says to the disciples, well, you couldn't do it because of your little faith. But then he says, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, well, how big is that? Like, small, really, really, really small. So he's not saying because of your little faith you couldn't do it, but if you have faith like this little bitty seed, nothing will be impossible to you. That just doesn't make sense of the contrast. And so to me, the best way to handle that apparent paradox is to say that they couldn't heal him because somehow the quality of their faith was wrong or different than the faith that God is asking. Because if you have a small mustard seed faith in the right object or in the right quality, then nothing will be impossible to you. You can literally move mountains. So what are we supposed to do with this? Well, I think that the whole theology out there that says your faith must be really, really, really great to perform miracles is not correct. It's your faith must be in a really, 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 really great God. So it is the object of your faith that matters, not the quantity of your faith. Because if you base the power and the authority on the amount of faith that you have, well, then the praise and the glory and the honor go to you. It doesn't go to Jesus. And if that goes against the strain of evidence in the New Testament, well, actually the whole Bible, that the glory and the honor and praise always go to God. When you are weak, then he is strong. God uses weak and broken vessels to show his surpassing glory. And so I think that this passage talks about the same exact thing. It's not faith in us or in our ability in any way or even our level of it. It's if we have faith in Christ, that he is who he is and he will do what he has promised to do, then nothing will be impossible. The problem is some people will take this idea and apply it to things that they want or ultimately that will go against God's plan. And so then they think, well, something's wrong. Either this passage is wrong or their faith is wrong or Jesus is wrong. And so this is not just a blank check to get whatever it is that you want. It's always consistent with God's will. Just don't fall into the trap to think that it's the amount of faith in you that's the deciding factor. It's always the faith that is in Christ and his authority and power. So it's the quality of the object of your faith, not the quantity of the faith that is inside you and me.